Hey, happy Earth Day. So since it is Earth Day, I kind of figured this might be a good time to talk about ESG investing. And it looks like there's been a little bit of interest in it. So sorry it took me so long to get this out. As a concept, this has been around for quite a while. As much as a lot of us have just started to hear about this in the past couple of years, you can trace it back to like the late 1960s. Vietnam War protesters started demanding that fund companies stop investing in defense contractors. What sustainable investing means and the concepts has changed over the years, but the basic concept, nothing new. ESG investing. Let's start with what it actually stands for. Environmental, sustainable, governance. Now, I think most of us have a good grip on what environmental and sustainable means. For governance, think of it like kind of the makeup of a company and what's important to it, how it's run. In order for a fund company to consider a specific company or government investment for an ESG portfolio, that company or government has to pass certain criteria. They got to check a couple of boxes. These standards do vary from fund company to fund company, but there is definitely a lot of carryover. Carbon emissions, water management, do they make sustainable products? What's their corporate governance like? So the company that brags about not hiring BIPOC and laughs maniacally about it, probably not going to be in an ESG fund. Fidelity, as an example, has different criteria depending on the industry they're looking at. Their list of standards as to whether or not a bank should be considered in an ESG fund is going to be different than a company in the energy sector. One of my favorites was actually from Canada Life. If a company makes nuclear weapons, they're not allowed in an ESG fund. Like, you'd think that would go without saying, right? It's not really an industry that has been known to think about global sustainability when they make their stuff. But the big question is, how do the funds perform? I mean, it's great to help out the world and the planet, but we would all like to be able to afford to retire at some point, right? Now, this Fidelity fund in particular has only been around since 2020, so we don't have a ton of historical data to look at. But what we can see is positive, some pretty good returns in 2020 and 2021. How does it compare to a non-ESG fund? And that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you stuck around this far. So I grabbed another global equity fund from Fidelity, and this is how they line up. Now, as you can tell, the non-ESG fund has done a bit better since 2020. And it might be hard to tell because it's a little small, but that difference at the end is about $3,000. So what this is actually showing us is that if you invested $100,000 back in 2020, you would be up $3,000 if you use the non-ESG fund compared to using the ESG. So yes, there is a difference. It's not huge, but it is there. Now, the Canada Life one has been around a little bit longer. And as you can see, mostly positive returns, a couple of negatives here in 2015 and 2018, but overall pretty positive. Now, this is a balanced fund, so it's going to look and act differently than the Fidelity one right out of the gate. And if we compare this to somebody who is non-ESG, this is what it looks like. This is over the past 10 years, but yeah, there is a difference. That non-ESG fund has done better. But just for fun, if we change the time frame and instead of 10 years, we look at the past 3 years, things change. The ESG fund has outperformed its non-ESG counterpart by about $7,000. Now, even though this is Earth Day, you probably don't want to just jump into sustainable investing right away, okay? Take some time, talk to an advisor, do some research, and make your decision based on that. This has not been financial or investment advice. This has not been financial or investment advice.